Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's Jack with Stronghold Strength and Conditioning. And today, I'm showing you a taste of my morning stretching routine for athletes. But before we get into it, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance on the field, in the gym, or just in your daily life. It doesn't get much cooler than that, so jump on it. Ready? Let's dive into this one. All right, guys. So today you're gonna get a taste of part of my workout routine. And I'm showing you a mobility stretching routine that I do one time a week to ensure that my joints are all in good working order and that everything is in place. This is a full body routine that you can use if you're an athlete to keep yourself performing well, whether that's performing in the gym or performing on the court or field, or you could use this if you are just looking to improve your flexibility, range of motion, and you might be a beginner. It doesn't matter. These things are across the board important. And if you want to understand better why I do the mobility training that I do, why I do the stretching that I do in the way that I do, take advantage of the 7-day mobility training challenge down below. It's a mini course that guides you through a small systematic approach to mobility training. Now in that, the sessions are all equipment free, they're 15 minutes long, and you can do them pretty much anywhere as I guide you through that, but it gives you a better understanding of the approach, a systematic approach to mobility that we do want to take to ensure that we're really optimizing our efforts in our stretching routine if we're looking to gain flexibility and range of motion, and overall to use that to transfer into performance when it comes to the gym. This will also give you an idea of any underlying aches and pains, whatever you might have going on, or just limits in range of motion that you currently have that could be overall putting you at risk for aches and pains in the future, or that are simply killing your performance currently because you're leaking force in areas that we shouldn't be. It's going to help you identify those and start to address those. So take advantage of it. The link is right below in the description, and I hope you guys enjoy that. Today, you're going to need a resistance band for our session here, a pull-up band, pull-up assist band, and that will be it. Now, you can do these stretches without the band, but it is much more effective to use the band because we are able to address the joints directly on these stretches. So if you just wanted to go through the routine without the band, if you don't have one, you can follow along and do that, but the band does add a different effect to the stretch where we are addressing joints and helping pull that joint into a good position. It also provides a little bit of core challenge during those stretches to assure that I'm using my core and opening up the areas that we're really intending to. So if you have that, grab it. You get a good anchor point. We're going to be using a low, a medium, and a high anchor point. So if you have a door anchor, that'll work well. And ready? Let's get into it. All right, guys, we're going to be starting with the band anchored low, and you will need a bench or a chair so that you can elevate on this first portion here. After that, it's all from the floor. So we want to start with the band across the front of the ankle, and I'm going to be placing my foot up on that bench there, as you can see. What we're doing here is improving ankle dorsiflexion. So I want to make sure that I have 3 points of contact from the foot, my first metatarsal behind the big toe, my fifth metatarsal behind the small toe, and my heel. And I want to let that band pull me into that point of the heel. Now with my arm, I'm actually placing weight down on the knee there so that I'm assisting in driving the knees over the toes as much as possible. So we're getting deep dorsiflexion as I'm getting deep knee flexion and deep hip flexion. If that's not a deep squat, then I don't know what is. So that's what we're working on improving here. Better ankle dorsiflexion equals deeper squat, smoother squat, and this one will get you there. So I'm driving forward, trying to let that band stretch the Achilles, stretch the calf. Now here I'm going to add a little external rotation, and I'm going to kind of grease and groove that movement a little bit. So I'm going in and out of the flexion of the knee and the dorsiflexion of the ankle while I'm pushing that hip into external rotation a little bit more. So I still want those 3 points of contact from my foot, but I'm doing my best to keep them down as I externally rotate as far as I can toward those small toes. So just a little bit of work there. Now we're gonna switch sides and repeat the same thing on the other side. So first of all, just driving forward with that band on the front of the ankle, restoring dorsiflexion, then switching to that externally rotated position. All right, great job. Next, just for convenience sake, we're gonna be using that chair, that bench again, and gapping the wrist. So we want that low angle still, and we're placing the palm flat. And here we're trying to create space at the wrist joint. So what you'll see me do, first of all, is space my fingers as much as I can, getting that palm as flat as I can to that surface. I'm leaning forward as far as I can over that palm, and then I'm also trying a little bit of shifting side to side. You'll see me start to internally and externally rotate the shoulder. I am doing my best to keep my shoulder blades rolled down and back so they're not creeping up toward my ears here. And I do want to feel that pressure all the way up through into the shoulders and maybe even the neck. So you'll see me kind of play with my neck a little bit here. Now, depending on what you're feeling, you might want to spend some more time in those positions or moving through the motion that generates a little bit of that discomfort until that discomfort starts to dissipate. Go ahead and switch sides, once again repeating, nice flat palm, pin it down with the free hand, lean over it, internally and externally rotate the shoulder, keep that arm straight, feel it all the way up into the shoulders, playing with the neck. All right, very good. Next, we're gonna move to the knees here a little bit. So I'm gonna place one leg in so that the band is at the back of the knee. And here I'm working at spacing the knee appropriately so that it glides when it's under tension and getting the quadriceps to engage in the way that they should. So what I wanna do is a nice straight leg out front, and it's I'm extending the leg back behind me that's banded as far as I can. What I want to feel, and that's what I'm putting my hand there for, is the glutes actively engaging as I extend the hip there, and I want to feel the quadriceps helping in that movement. Now sometimes I'll get cracks and pops out in these reps here. We're just doing about 5 to 6 reps per side with a good 2 to 3 second squeeze and hold on each rep here. So go ahead and switch the leg, and once again drive back. When I start, the leg that's banded with the knee bent is in line with my straight front leg, and that makes sure I have enough space to kind of push back through. And we can go back all the way till the foot is flat on this one. Next, we're going to be going down to the floor here with that low anchor point. And what I want to do is put my knee up through the band so that the band is anchored at my hip crease here. So I'll have to push off my anchor point, and here I might adjust. If I'm a guy here, we got stuff we gotta look out for. Girls, you probably do too, actually. But make sure we're not pinching anything, that the band sits comfortably in that hip crease. And then we're gonna pull it up as high as we can into deep hip flexion. And now I'm working that range at the top. Imagine drawing the top of a circle arching around that top here. And then I'm gonna pull it across my body as my pelvis pulls to the floor. So my arm is pulling the hip in the direction across my body as if I were trying to roll myself, but my hip and my pelvis tries to reach for the floor. And you're gonna feel a little bit of work at the sacrum here as we pull that hip across. Holding the hip at 90 degrees at the knee and 90 degrees at the hip, then try active internal and external rotation of the hip. So I'm trying to take that leg out as far as I can, the bottom of the leg to the outside and then to the inside. And we're just gonna do a few reps, giving a nice tight squeeze from those muscles as you transition inside to out. Now grab and interlace those fingers at the back of the knee and pull your quads to your abdomen and your ribs. And from this position, keeping the shoulder blades down and back to the floor, flex the quadriceps, straightening the leg as much as possible. This is going to give a little sciatic nerve floss, as well as help open up the hamstrings in this deep hip flexion. So we're really opening up that back of the leg here and restoring the relationship between the quadriceps and those hamstrings on this one. We're going to do about 10 reps where we give a nice 2 to 3 second flex for each rep there, feeling those quads engage as tight as they can. Next, find a good place to plant that foot as you rotate over here. I'm looking for a good point to push off of. My band was a little bit in the way, but we're going to rotate over here with the knee bent. Do your best and really make it a priority to keep the shoulder blades down to the floor. So our rotation is only as far as we can go with the shoulder blades rolled down and back, and that back shoulder especially connecting to the floor. We're just going to hold this position for a few seconds, take a few deep breaths while we're here. And then if you're able to, extend and reach the leg. From here, I'm going to be flexing and releasing the quadriceps again, opening up the hamstrings in rotation. So now we're opening up in a different position with that rotation, which puts that at a little bit more stretch here. Even through the glutes and that pelvis there, you'll feel a little difference as we flex. Now, if you can't reach the foot, you can use a strap or a band or something to assist you in grabbing. I can even sometimes place my foot against my box, you'll see on the other side, and we'll plant that. So use what you need to get the leg into that straight position, even if you can't reach the foot. All right, we're gonna repeat that same cycle on the other side here. Here we go. All right, next we're gonna transition to our mid anchor point. And from here, we're gonna work a little bit of the hip, a little bit of the knee, and mostly the shoulder complex. Think of the height being somewhere around, when you're tall kneeling or half kneeling, it should be about shoulder height level there. And somewhere in that range. It could be a little bit higher, it could be a little bit lower, but at least somewhere in that general range so that it anchors at the shoulder height when we're in a half kneeling position. The first one we're going to start with, though, is actually going to be a hip socket work here. A little bit of focus on moving our hip into an anterior position. So we're taking that hip, placing the band on the back of the hip, and once again restoring our ability to engage the glutes when the hip is in full extension. Here I'm stepping even a little bit further back than we did before when we were in this position, keeping the front leg straight yet, but then engaging the glutes and engaging the quadriceps to straighten that back leg as much as possible. I like to add a little bit of a side bend occasionally to open up those hip flexors as much as I can and get myself into a nice stretch along that side body. Go ahead and switch the leg that you have in that band. Once again, stepping back nice and deep here, straight front leg, straightening out the back leg. Once again, engaging the glutes. The band is helping to pull the hip into that position so that we are fully extending from the hip and not extending from the lumbar spine. That's a big thing we want to pay attention to. Flex and release those glutes, 2 to 3 second hold at a time, and then we'll add that little side lean once again. Now, placing the band at the back of the knee, once again, you're going to walk back to get the band in pretty good tension here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to hug my heel toward my butt as deep as I can. So once again, restoring the ability of the knee to get deep flexion. My hands are a little bit back behind me and I'm kind of pushing myself over that knee. A little bit hard to see from this angle, but as I switch legs, you'll get a better view of it. The knee is getting pulled over the toes by the band as much as I'm able to, keeping those 3 points of contact from the foot again. First metatarsal, fifth metatarsal, and heel. Anytime we're in deep flexion with dorsiflexion of the ankle, we want to make sure that it replicates our squat pretty much. And that's what I'm doing here. Switching sides, this will give you a better view. Once again, at the back of the knee, walking back, getting tension, and then sitting down, holding the band there, getting myself into a good position. 3 points of contact, and then allowing the knee to get pulled forward over the toes as my foot stays planted in this position. Very good. Now we're going to move into our shoulder work here a little bit. So the first thing we're going to address is shoulder internal rotation, and a lot of us lack shoulder internal rotation. It shows when we have forward rounding or caving of the chest. So here we want to think about letting the chest open up as much as possible. I'm playing with my neck, and you might feel it pull at your neck too if you're allowing that shoulder to get back. I do have my forearm at my lumbar spine here, so it's wrapped around my back as much as I can. And I'm just trying to see what I feel with that band pulling at the front of the shoulder here. I have the front leg the same as the banded side, and my glutes are engaging from the back leg there. Now I'm just going to slide that band down to the elbow because we're going to add a little bit of extension to the arm in external rotation. If you can kind of see, my hand of my free arm is actually interlacing fingers with my arm behind my back. So I'm ensuring that I'm keeping that internally rotated position and anchoring well. I want to make sure that I'm not rotating toward the band, and I want to let that arm do the extension as much as I'm able to. Our final anchor point for the arm and the shoulder complex here is going to be down at the wrist. So you want it around the wrist, and then I like to interlace it between my middle and ring finger, the band, and then close my grip. We're going into full extension of the arm, so you might feel a pretty big stretch at your biceps. You might be getting the stretch at your chest, depending on where you're tight. And once again, play with your neck positioning. Bring it out to the side this time. And now we're going to internally and externally rotate the whole arm. What we want to make sure is that you're not bending at the elbow when you do this, that the socket is what's moving. So our glenohumeral joint, that's where we're having the rotation of the shoulder come from. And as we internally rotate, once again, you shouldn't feel your chest cave. It's all isolated to the ball and socket here. Next, we're working an overhead positioning. And here I want to keep the arm straight once again with my palm up toward the ceiling. And I'm simply working on scapular retraction and depression. So I'm pulling from the scapula. And as I pull, I'm not allowing my elbow to bend. I'm not using my biceps. I'm using the musculature that stabilizes the scapula. Here we're going to go into a nice side body stretch. So I want to fully extend my arm that's down on the floor. The arm that's banded is fully extended overhead. My elbows are both rotating in toward my ribs here, or forward from the top arm in toward the ribs on the bottom. And then I'm extending the top leg and keeping the bent leg down below with the glutes engaged, so my hips are fully extended. Come on out of that, and then we're going to come into one more position here with a little bit of a reach through to help restore thoracic extension. So my arm is pulled up against my chest here, and you might feel a stretch at your shoulder itself. You might actually feel this start to help you rotate deeper and deeper through your spinal column, and that's the purpose here. So as you reach through, you want to let yourself go with that band deeper and deeper as you reach through. And we're just doing that a few times here. Now we will be switching sides and doing all those again on the other side. Follow along closely. Awesome. Next, we're gonna do one more from this mid anchor point here. Place the band at the back of the elbow so it grips it, and then hold the band in your palm. What you wanna do is turn so that the elbow points directly up toward the ceiling there, and you're trying to even keep your palm rotated up toward the ceiling as you hold that band. Tight butt, tight stomach. This is an awesome one if you do any front squat work. So here we're opening up those lats. We want to make sure that the scapula is not elevating toward the ear and that we're letting that band pull the actual glenohumeral joint back in toward the socket there. Stretching those triceps, stretching those lats, giving the serratus a little bit of work. Slowly make your way out of it. Once again, switching sides here, placing the band at the back of the elbow, holding the band in the palm, and then turning so that the elbow gets pulled directly up toward the ceiling, engaging the glutes, engaging the abs, and making sure that we're holding nice and firm a solid plank position. Lastly, we're going to finish with a high anchor point here. This is going to be our last couple movements. And first, we're just going to finish off our shoulder work, making sure that we're, first of all, placing that band at the wrist again, doing a full arm here. And then we're internally rotating, looping our free arm over the top of that band and making sure it's a nice straight line from the band up to our high anchor point. Now, if this one is too intense for you, you can do this from that mid anchor point as well, from the half kneeling position. This is a little bit more advanced. When you get a little bit more opened up in that shoulder, we can take it into internal rotation. We can really pull at the upper trap, that supraspinatus, and make sure that we're giving them the attention that they need. That's why I'm playing with the neck here. But if you need to, you can do this from that mid height as well. So hold this position, tight butt, tight stomach, nice alignment, and then slowly make your way out of it as well. Switching sides, anchoring the wrist, placing it between those middle fingers and the ring fingers, and then internally rotating at the shoulder, wrapping the forearm to the back, throwing the arm over top there and getting a nice alignment. Tight butt, tight stomach, tall positioning. For our final position, you're going to place the band right at the base of the skull, wrapped around above the ears, almost like a headband. And here we're doing some spinal traction. I'm rotating, I'm doing yeses and nos. We're moving the head around, trying to lengthen out the cervical spinal column as much as possible here. So just try different head movements. You'll feel the resistance of the band. If you see my hands, I have them interlaced on one another, and then I'm just allowing dead weight. So you don't want to feel your shoulders shrugging in this position as you hold that band. Just let the hands hang on together and drop weight a few inches from the forehead there, holding the band onto your head. You'll still feel that traction, and just try and work the neck around. I'm getting out some really nice cracks and pops, and I bet you will too in this one. And this will be our final movement for the day. All right, and there you guys have it. My full 30-minute stretching routine that I do one time a week to ensure that my joint mechanics are functioning and working as they properly should. If you guys like this video, make sure you let me know by giving that big thumbs up down below, and take a moment to share this one with a friend. If you haven't seen mobility like this before, this is the real deal. This is where it's at. You will see more benefit and improvement in your flexibility and range of motion by using stuff like this. And take advantage of that 7-day mobility training challenge down below so you can understand it a little bit better. If you guys have any questions about this video, make sure you drop those below in the comments. And last but not least, if you have not already, take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, putting out videos showing you how to resolve those aches and pains, prevent those injuries, and overall optimize your performance in the gym, on the field, on the court, or just in your daily life and routine. Welcome to the Stronghold Army. I'll see you guys next week.